Hey there team, welcome back to the channel, welcome to my overview of Wizordum, or Wizordum, I guess it depends. In the opening text crawl with the voiceover, the dude pronounced it both those ways within one sentence apart, so pick your poison. Wizordum will do for now. Anyway, I do overviews on this channel. I have a look at the first 2 hours of a game. It's short and punchy. It's a Steam refund window. The whole idea is just to get a broad strokes overview and give you information so you can figure out if you want to get this or not. So I keep it around 10 minutes and I keep it fairly brief. So I have kind of mixed feelings on this because as I was gearing up to speak on this microphone I don't do a script, but I do collect my thoughts a little bit before I go ahead. I came to realize I've got some issues with this. I feel like there's some pretty big glaring issues, but I still had a lot of fun and there's some really incredible stuff going on here as well. So I'm a bit mixed. So we'll lead out with what's really good. I think the artistic design and every aspect of it, all the environments, the enemy variety and designs, the animations of your enemies, and even you shooting and, firing me ice gun and then you can right click to do the super he lifts his hand up and snaps his fingers and it's really incredibly well realized from a visual art style perspective. And I couldn't help but grin, as I was going from level to level to level, how it would go from, sort of ruins in a meadow, stereotypical stuff, into underground dungeons, into sewer levels with tentacle monsters coming out of the muck, into graveyards with lightning strikes and zombies raising out of the ground, and then a harbour more recently with the ships that you can fire the cannons on as part of scripted events. They've really done well to realise all these different biomes and just general visual design. And then on top of that, the audio is actually really solid. I mean, the effects are whatever, they're fine, but I think the soundtrack's really quite good in a fantastical kind of classic way. So there's a lot to love there from aesthetic. And then as far as the run and gun movement, the fidelity's all there, which you would expect in case it's not clear. This is very much channeling that kind of boomer shooter of yesteryear, tapping a nostalgia for something that you never really had. I mean, the closest comparison is something like Hexen or Heretic or anything like that from back in the day. But yeah, it's a wizard version of Doom, boomer shooter, whatever you want to call it, right? I think people get the gist and it feels good. However, a lot of the stuff in it beyond that, I kind of take issue with. I mean, it's not egregious. It's not like I'm going to lose sleep or anything like that. But I mean, let's play it out. The gunplay, if you will, because it is kind of gunplay. I mean, you can go different classes. I went the cleric, there's a sorceress, and even that's a little bit confusing. You can just pick missions, but you can replay them, but there's also part-time and all that, so you can rerun them, but as a different character. But even then, the characters collect gold, so I'm still not sure how that works, because the gold gets spent at a shop in between levels, so maybe the gold just is, you could grind the first level over and over and over again, and maybe you just keep getting the gold to spend in the shop. It's not very clear. It is just sort of a level rush kind of thing. There's an opening crawl, as I said, saying, this land's in trouble, you're the last wizard, you're going to go see what's going on. But that's it. There's no story to speak of. It is more just like a bunch of wad packs just slapped together one after the other, which is fine. There's nothing necessarily wrong with that. But then when you throw in multiple characters and the sense of progress goes out the window. But what I was going to get at is the gunplay seems fine. If anything, it's kind of easy. You'll fall into a rhythm. There's lots of cool different weapons. You can pick your poison, so it very much channels Doom, right? There's no real correct weapon, or it's not even necessarily a situational weapon. It's more just pick your poison and revel in the fun. And I generally use the ice staff more than most, but there's guns and fireballs and all the weapon variety is really cool. But dare I say, it's all fairly easy, right, on the basic difficulty, until you actually do get hit, and these things hit like a truck, and occasionally they will box you in, but for the most part, I do not know what to call it, but the sort of rhythm of the engagement is 90% of the time it's pretty easy and it doesn't squeeze you, but the other 10% of the time when they do get through and get 1 or 2 hits on you, it's lethal like nothing else. But you'd expect a game with high lethality to put some kind of pressure or stress on you, and it doesn't feel like that. Dare I say, it almost feels like a cozy game, as they say these days. So there's a sort of dissonance in that interplay that you almost feel playing through it, just killing everything and nuking everything, but then you'll come up against one little event that will absolutely brick you and you'll have to reload saves, or you have trap sequences to unlock, get a key or open a door or something, and the traps hit you just as hard as well. You get hit by one or two of them and you're dead, but you have to go through it. So it's very strange, because as far as what you would call like the telegraphing or the training of the player, so as to how they play the game and intuit further encounters, it's a bit all over the place, a bit of a mess. Further to that, you get a lot of like gadgets in your arsenal. Like I said, you've got lots of weapons, and that's fine, that makes a lot of sense, but it just keep like, I've unlocked a chargeable spell on middle mouse button, I've unlocked an X, a C, there's like a item wheel you can cycle through. You press F to use an item and you press R to cycle through. And it's given me like freaking 6 or 7 different spell things on that toggle, on that rotatable, none of which I use or care for, or, they're all just gimmicks. They feel like they're B ideas that were on the whiteboard, and instead of accepting a cohesive experience, the devs were like, no, well, we came up with this, so we're putting it in the game. So you can have these one-use single charge spells to zip through enemies or whatever, but it's really not functional, not within the way that the world designs, that very flat, rigid, you can't fall off edges, very Doom-like. So you've got a lot of these abilities or these consumables, which are really, they're not even hyper situational, they're just clutter, right? And it makes for a messy experience, because the one thing in that cycle that you can pick up that's useful is a health potion, right? And you can only really carry 1 or 2 of them at a time, but you got to cycle through the other 6 things to get to it as well. It's just a mess. And I do wonder, like, it's got to be one of two things. Either the devs think this is good design, which is a little bit of a red flag, because it's not, it's clutter, or there's a little bit more underhanded. They're intentionally cluttering it up so as to make it feel like there's more going on. So you don't need all these extra spells, and you're not going to use them, and if anything, they're just taking real estate up on your screen and your mind share. All you really need is the guns that you're never going to run out of ammo for. I might run out of ammo on my main weapon and then I'll switch to fireballs for a bit, but then I'll have ammo back for the other things. So it is a mess, and I think it's to the detriment of the game. Other things are something that increasingly is looking more like a pet peeve of me personally, which is monster closets and this genre. A lot of people seem to hold that sort of level design in high regard as like, hey, we're going to use a bad design concept under the guise of nostalgia. And if you're not aware of it, because you had limitations of things back in the day, like when they were making Doom, to get more value out of levels, and that they would have things like hidden walls that, not that you could open, but that would trigger and open and let monsters out behind you, hence a monster closet. Now this game is particularly egregious, as in, it leans very hard into back and forth to get more value out of a level. And actually, while I'm on that, the level design, a lot of it is very nonsensical. Like, even compared to, like, I replayed Doom last year and did a review of that, and it still holds up. It's great because you might get lost occasionally, but for the most part, 90% of the time, the levels make sense. There's a flow state to them. And what little back and forth is in some of the levels, it generally makes a lot of sense, and it's not outstaying its welcome. So this has a lot of like events. You must trigger some event that will make a wall collapse somewhere else in the level, and then you can progress through there. It doesn't make sense. It's not like you pressed a TNT plunger or something like that. It's just whatever. This thing blew up, and now you can go there. Now, there's a handy map that tells you exactly where you need to go at any given time. There's like a little blue marker. And at first I was like, oh, this is really cool. This is functional. But again, it's a tool to fix a problem that shouldn't exist. So they have nonsensical, gated off, back and forth level design. And the only way that you ever will know where the next place to go is because you have a map that really holds your hand and tells you. And so that gets a little frustrating when you compound that with the back and forth going through not just monster closets, but just explicit retreading the same ground where you've already come, and they just teleport dudes in front of you. And it's starting to get a little bit worse because some of them will telegraph audibly, like zombies coming out of the ground. You'll walk past a clear trigger and a zombie will come out of the ground behind you and you'll hear it audio telegraph. And that's okay, that's forgivable. If you're going to closet me, at least you're going to warn me. but they've got these, more warrior type, zombie type guys popping up now, and they're fast and they're quiet. I don't know, maybe there's an audio file missing, who can say? It is 1.0 though, but they're starting to just teleport these dudes in front of you that pretty much appear directly in front of you and hit you immediately or behind and the same sort of thing. Anyway, I don't need to impress the point further other than to say, I think monster closets to a point can be used for some nostalgia, but you have to be careful what you're holding up on a pedestal. These were limitations of the day, and by any modern standard is terrible game design, and using it as a little Easter egg to a point works, but leaning on it for a huge part of your actual design philosophy is fucking terrible idea. And look, there's other things in between each level. You can sort of buy upgrades for your weapons, and it's an egregious amount of cost, and you might be able to afford one thing every 2 levels. The only real way to get enough treasure is to smash every single box, and there's a bazillion little boxes. It becomes tiresome. And again, maybe you're seeing a theme when you put those things separately, like back and forth monster closet design, cluttered consumables, etc., and then a million different boxes that you need to farm to get the right currency to buy upgrades. Like when you put all these things together, it starts to Swiss cheese, and I see intentional clutter so as to pad a game. There's something cool in here. There's the bones of a cool game, and maybe if you just switch off your brain and don't engage with all these things I've pointed out, just thunder run, use one weapon, don't smash boxes, whatever, go from level to level, you're probably going to find some fun in there. Dare I say, playing it like just a normal boomer shooter. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff in here that the more and more I think about it, the more and more I feel like it is intentional clutter. And I wonder how long this game will be in the end, because I've flown through about 4 or 5 levels. Maybe it is just padding. Who can say? Anyway, look, I'm not trying to be particularly down on this game. Again, the art style and all that is just so beautiful and wonderful, and there are aspects of this where I was having a great time, but there's other times where I was sort of, checking the clock a bit as well. So a little bit of a mixed bag, but check it out yourself, right? It's out today, and make up your own mind. Anyway, team, might just leave it there for the time being, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.